love a nice massage and a belly rub. Nothing makes me feel more relaxed. I like my ears rubbed. I like my paws rubbed. I like my back rubbed. I like my tail rubbed. I like to relax while I have a massage. It's my favorite thing to do. But if you really want to know what I like, listen close. Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. I like my ears rubbed. I like my paws rubbed. I like my back rubbed. I like my tail rubbed. I like to relax. A massage and some snacks. It's my favorite thing to do. But if you really want to know what I like, listen close. Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. Rub my belly, rub my belly, rub my belly, my belly, my belly. I go walking down the street. 1, 2, 3. I go walking down the street. Look at me. Come on, all you doggies, won't you walk with me? I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I go walking down the street. Yes, I do. I go walking down the street. How about you? My mama has a puppet toy that we can shoot. I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I'm the lassiest, sassiest dog around. I'm the scrappiest, happiest dog in town. It feels so good to stretch my legs. Please get my leash, don't make me beg. I need exercise, don't you see? So why not come along, take a walk with me? All you other doggies, won't you hang with me? Let's go take a walk and see what we see. I get so bored in the house all day. Let's go outside and start to play. I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. I'm the lassiest, sassiest dog around. I'm the scrappiest, happiest dog in town. Feels so good to stretch my legs. Please get my leash, don't make me beg. I need exercise, don't you see? So why not come along, take a walk with me? I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog. 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 I'm the puppet, 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 puppet dog.
Hi there. Sorry for the long intro, everybody. It's nice to see everybody here in the chat. I'm just realizing at some point I got to explain that music to you all. It was actually a I'll explain it later for those who want to hear it later on. So tonight on the Animal Intuitive Show, I am going to be talking about, sorry, I probably have feedback there, 3 elements that can really help in the raising of an animal family member from their younger years, or bringing a new pet into the home who's older and you're adopting the pet. Or this is an animal maybe that you've had in your home for a while, and this is going to help them to really, assure that they're going to become an integral part of the family, or to improve your relationship with them. And, really improving just the state of that animal's level of balance, or the amount of balance they have personality-wise, behavior-wise. And I refer to these 3 animal communication pointers that I'm going to talk about tonight as RRC, and they can really help with the likelihood of just improving things overall. So welcome to the Animal Intuitive Show, where we talk about animal communication, natural pet care. We have interviews with experts in the fields of animal care and advocacy. I'm Angela Webb, the Animal Intuitive, and I have nearly 2 decades of professional animal communication work. I've been doing this for 2 decades professionally, but I've been doing all of my life. I teach it, I do individual sessions, and I do this show to educate other people about it. And I'm also nationally board certified in animal acupressure and massage, so we do some lessons about those things too. So just want to stop for a second and say hello to everyone in the chat. Hi, it's good to see everyone in the new year. Mel Mack is here, good to see you, and Judy, Anne, and thank you so much, Carol, for being here, everybody who's here. So I hope everybody has been good in the new year. I have missed being here, and I am glad to be back with everybody. And as just a reminder, if somebody or anybody comes in and they want me to talk with their pet, I'll do that in a little while. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can always fast forward. Usually I put timestamps. I don't always, but I try to remember to. And then also I do some clips too of shows to make them shorter for people. You can find all that in the playlists. And okay, so let's get going. So this shortening I refer to as RRC. These are 3 pointers, and they have to do with animal communication and training your pet. And I do just want to mention, I'm not a dog trainer, I'm not a behaviorist, and I'm not a veterinarian. Seek those things out if you do need them. Not trying to take the place of those, but I do know a few things about animal communication and the important role it can really play in raising a pet. So I have identified 3 things that I really see have helped with my animal family members, as well as my clients. They go a long way. And so I want to give you a little illustration, a little story of something that happened recently with my dog Kane. So Kane came to us a few years into his life. He was like 3.5. And he had a lot of reactions to where we are. There's more noise here. He came from a part of New Jersey that's quieter, I guess, and he had like a nice backyard. He had a fence. The problem was he was left back there a lot, and that resulted in some things that happened to him, unfortunate things that we ended up with him. But when he came here, he was hearing a lot more noise where we are, and we had to work on his reaction to that noise, and it's gotten better. And however, sometimes he has little flare-ups, and recently he had kind of a flip out. He heard someone at the door, or like going by the door, and he flipped out. So what part of our training is I would put him in the other room, say, go to your place, put him in the other room for just a few minutes, and then let him out. So I did this, and I didn't notice because I got busy with some things. My husband pointed out to me, he's like, he can't settle down. Like, he's not like relaxing. Like, my husband was sitting on the couch in the living room and he wasn't relaxing like he normally does. And I forgot to bring a picture of him onto the show to show you Kane, but he just wouldn't chill out. So I noticed when I looked into his eyes, he really seemed upset. So I stopped, I sat down next to him, and I just looked into his eyes, and I, connected in with him as we do with animal communication. So animal communication involves telepathy, and that can be done in a lot of different ways. It could be that you're hearing, seeing images, videos, feeling what the animal's feeling physically or emotionally. You can use this scent, smell, can also be taste, and just knowing. So I just knew something was going on with him where he felt hurt. He legitimately felt upset and disappointed, and he felt bad about what had happened. So I sat down and I explained to him that I was not upset with him or angry with him, that he just has to remember that he can't react like that when he hears a sound. And I was just reminding him of things that we've already worked on, and he got it, and he immediately calmed down, and he was able to settle and relax. And I had the cutest picture, because I took this really cute picture of him. I'll try to bring it up while I'm doing the show. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but he just needed that reassurance. So I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, all these different factors. Here he is, all little guy. So he really took that to heart, and not all animals take this kind of thing to heart the way he did. Let me see if I can bring his little picture on. Not all animals will respond this way. Some animals don't get so upset when you, oh good, that's my whole background there in the show. My whole file. Not all animals react that way when they get upset, but he did. And he is a German Shepherd, and if you know German Shepherds, German Shepherds can really respond sensitively. They can be very sensitive, and you might not think that because they're German Shepherds, but they actually tend to be rather sensitive. So you might not, you might find that your pet doesn't respond that way, but he, some animals do, some animals don't. So, yeah, I'm trying to bring the picture, but it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to make everyone wait. So animals sometimes just need reinforcement, and they need reinforcement of your understanding that sometimes they mess up, and that you can, it's not a big deal. You're just reminding them that this is okay, this was a mistake, and we need to move on from it. I kind of messed up my script there when I was looking for this, so let me just, I'm sorry guys, I gotta go backwards a little bit because I'm getting confused. Okay, so this is where my analytics are going to show everyone it just drops. Everyone's going to leave, probably. Bear with me. I'm getting to something here. So some animals need this kind of reassurance, and that is one of the R's, reassurance. But it's also respect. So it's having enough respect for an animal to take the time to explain things to them. And sometimes it involves doing something like animal communication, like I'm talking about here. There's really important things that go along with raising an animal, including training, but animal communication can be used in conjunction with training to, help in the process of really making sure that you have a relationship with your pet, not just that they're learning behaviors and they're just repeating them and doing them as you expect, and without that sort of that understanding that goes on between human and animal when we utilize animal communication. When, some people are going to say, well, my animal doesn't need this. Like, for instance, some cats, like Gia, it's hard to bruise her ego. You could tell her to stop doing something and she just, it's not going to be a big deal. And of course, we always want to do this respectfully. And so respect and reassurance, they go hand in hand. We want to make sure that we aren't overly harsh, of course. But even when we don't mean to go too far with a correction, let's just call it a correction, as maybe sometimes they do in training. We don't mean to do that, but sometimes it can affect our pet, just like Kane. I really didn't do much at all. I just put him in the room and let him out a few minutes later, but he was really upset. He really takes it to heart. So creating trust equals respect, or the other way around? That's a good question. So I think that, let me think about that. So creating trust equals respect. I think creating trust does equal being respectful. Being willing to create an environment for an animal where they can trust you and they can depend on your consistency and know that you're not going to flip out, or and that also there is the place for training, that you are going to be giving them information about what you expect from them, but it's just adding that like layer where you incorporate in the animal communication, and it's not just like rote dog training, it's taking it to another level, and it's that relationship level. So trust equals respect. So respect equals trust. And that's true too, right? I think, being respectful creates trust. And this can be any, this could be a horse that you're working with too. This doesn't have to be cats or dogs, or, it could be a rabbit. It could be, any animal that you have, that it's an animal family member. So, and again, remembering the level of this and how much the animal needs, we can gauge that by our relationship with them. And so what's really important, I think, about this too, is that animals, I have found as an animal communicator, will become more of an animal the more that more of a personality will come out of an animal the more that you do this, the more that you communicate with them from the time that you get them. And it's wonderful if you have the opportunity to incorporate this from the time they're little, because they're just going to be even more balanced. But I've had plenty of animals that I've adopted that have come into my life later, and they've had things that have happened to them where trust has been a problem, where it's been broken, like Kane, where it doesn't matter. We've developed a wonderful trusting relationship, and even though I didn't have him for the first 3 years or whatever it was, 3.5 years, it doesn't matter, because animal communication works. It just works. You're able to heighten and deepen that level of relationship to the point where the animal just is so appreciative that you understand them, that you're willing to understand how they feel, what they're thinking, everything they're experiencing, that it just builds that trust. So it's also reinforcement for training, being able to remind them of what, as I said before, reinforcing what you do expect from them. So I was able to remind him, like, remember, buddy, this is what we do. You aren't supposed to react that way. We understand that, you have that instinct that you want to protect this home and yourself, which is oftentimes why dogs are reacting that way, actually. But I needed to remind him of what he's supposed to do. He obviously had a little lapse, and I just needed to remind him. So, and I probably will need to do it again in the future. Okay. So it's important with our animals to be mindful about how we're treating them, of course, when we're doing even that traditional training and behavior work. So I know sometimes people feel like, well, it's enough to be doing training. Like, that is enough effort and energy, and it is. If you're consistent with training, it is something you have to take the time and be, making sure that you're doing that consistently. But I can assure you that if you incorporate this, it's going to also increase their confidence level, which is the C in RRC. So taking the time to sit down and talk to them about, and using language that they understand, using animal communication and telepathy, showing them that they can have a deeper understanding and trust, understanding who you are, and reinforcing that you're always willing to understand what their point of view is. Maybe you're still going to want them to do things different than maybe they are doing things, but that you're willing to appreciate and respect how they feel and understand maybe why they're not doing things the way you want them to do them, which can include things like having a bad experience of something. But when they understand clearly what it is you want and what your responses to their behavior will be, because you have a deep connection that goes simply beyond training them in a traditional sense, and that you've taken the time to connect in, explain things to them, and taken the time to hear them, it will pay off. Their confidence is going to be greater because they will be that much clearer on what it is that is expected of them, and just simply understanding better what you want and what their life is like in your home and with you is going to lead to them to be more confident. So it is not only easier to make changes in behavior with training, but also to repair mistakes perhaps we have made when we've even been, like I said, a little bit, we might have messed up. Maybe I did something in that I haven't looked back and really thought, was I maybe too cold or something that really made him feel uncomfortable? He was maybe in there a little bit longer than normal. A minute to a German Shepherd who's being separated could be like, 20 minutes to us perhaps. So he is now, his birthday is in March, and he's going to be 7. So he's 6 right now. I can't believe that. Time really flies. And by the way, if this is helpful, please give us a thumbs up, share, and also make sure if you're new here that you hit the notification bell so you're reminded of upcoming shows. And we do these weekly Furry Thursdays. I usually do a lesson, and we also have the opportunity for me to talk with your pet. I do a few questions for each person who wants me to talk with their pet. And there's information about that in the description. And also, if you want to grow in your ability to be able to talk to animals, I do have a free meditation that you can utilize, and that is in the description. The link to my website is in the description, and it's intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. You can go there and check it out, and it is free, as I said. So it's on the front page of my website, and that will help you to be able to communicate with animals. And if you really want to take it to another level, I also have classes, and you can find that on my website on intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. The Animal Intuitive Academy is there. I have, at the time of this recording, some upcoming classes starting soon for people who want to do like a group, or if you want to do private lessons, you can always do that with me too. And I also have a class, if you want to check it out, that you can purchase and download. That's an intro class. So back to here. So, yes, Melmac. So simply taking one-on-one time in a calm and respectful manner to have that quiet conversation equals respect and trust. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think that we can make a huge difference just taking that time to sit and stop and understand what they're thinking and feeling. That's what animal communication is all about. So I'm wondering is anybody there in the comments in the chat, and you can leave this in the comments if you're watching later, but where you've had that experience where you just feel like, you took a moment to really identify that something was going on with your pet and it made a difference. Like you noticed, took a second, you realized emotionally or just in their thought process even that something was going on, and you took a second to really get it, and that, maybe something even shifted when you did that. Because I do think that everybody has the ability to communicate with animals. And sometimes what happens is people don't realize they're doing it, and you look back and realize, well, I remember that time when my pet did this or that, and something just clicked in my, I just sensed that something was off. And either you changed your behavior, you did something in response to what you picked up from an animal that you knew was going on, Or just simply you notice that by getting what that animal was feeling or what they were thinking, that something shifted. Because a lot of times that happens too with animal communication. You don't necessarily even have to change a behavior. It's just that you got what that animal was thinking and feeling, what they were experiencing. By doing that, something shifted. And it could even just be the dynamics of your relationship. Like you notice something changed just in that moment. I'm curious if people remember anything like that ever happening, and I would love to hear it, like I said, either in the chat or in the comments if you're watching later. I'm always curious and love hearing people's stories about these moments where they remember, they realize that they have communicated with animals. As I said, most people who love animals and have had animals in their life have communicated with them. They just don't necessarily realize that. So you might not realize you've done this, but look back and think about it, and maybe it'll click with you. You have a memory of something that happened that is a clear memory. I will tell you that in my classes, people always are able to connect in and remember something that's happened at some point. They can identify it. Sometimes it just is a matter of taking a moment to remember it and just have a second to quiet and, calm. And that's kind of what my classes are about too, is helping people to relax in this busy time that we are in, and remember this innate ability that we all have to communicate with animals. That's Kane. Finally found it. So this is him after we had our talk. He just is so cute. He has little tongue sticking out. He fell asleep, and he's kind of like, his eyes were opening a little bit at that point, but his tongue kind of fell out of his mouth because he just chilled out. After I had that connection in with him and got him, that's what happened. I'm thinking you can see that. I hope you can see that. So let me just check in. I hear some things in the chat. Oh, hi. It's Bonnie from Dog Trainers Connection. Good to see you. Bonnie was on the show before, talking about, you were about to post an interview we did with a dog trainer talking about this topic. You're sharing important information, Anne, and I'm glad I happened to go to YouTube a few minutes ago. I'm glad you did too. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Okay. And Judy, so you were saying, Judy, that I noticed when my cats, and you can find that interview with Bonnie, she does something about, she has a meditation for walking with your animal and just walking with them. And if you go to my playlist, you can find it with Bonnie from Dog Trainers Connection. Remind me of your website too, if it's dogtrainersconnection.com, I'm not sure. So, Julianne, you notice when your cats are agitated when I get home, and that's a signal to me that they're saying I need to stop and talk and reconnect with them before doing other stuff. Yeah, definitely, yeah. So noticing that just connecting in with them is just taking a moment to connect in with them, because like you're saying, like you've been out all day and you're to some degree their world. You're the person who feeds them. You provide comfort usually. With cats, sometimes you sleep with them, cuddle with them, you pet them, and they want to reconnect, and we have to take, if we love and respect and care for animals, we want to take the time to reconnect in with them, and that can just calm them down, definitely. We went away for a brief time over the holidays, but even just coming back from that and taking the time to sit down and connect in with them, because when a cat's environment changes, you really see it to the extreme when you move. Like that's when it's very difficult and challenging a lot of times for cats, and it's great to be able to use things like animal communication and different things like acupressure and all sorts of things to, here is Bonnie's. Thank you so much for finding that, Melmac. So, I didn't realize you had a YouTube. For some reason, I thought you were all listening, like podcasts. So good to see you have that. Taking the time to connect in with them can reground them. Just changing their environment for cats is really difficult. They're just little energetic, strong energy beings, and going away and coming back can be, they need that. They need the environment, and you're part of the environment. You're important to them to have you to get restabilized. So this little one needed a little bit of reassurance when we came back. Hey there. So let's see. Was there anything else that I didn't answer or get to? Yeah, absolutely. Glad to share your information. Okay, so I'm wondering too if people feel like, and this might be for people who aren't in the chat and in comments too, but I'm just wondering if people feel like they can communicate with animals, that they feel like, does it feel way off in the distance to you? Or does it feel like something that, it clicks with you, like, oh, I kind of feel like I've done that, or maybe you're 100% confident, like I definitely have done that. Or if you're totally, if you haven't, if you know that, this is, I'm curious who hasn't, who's watching, but for people who don't know consciously that they're doing it on purpose, when you hear about this, does it feel hard? Does it, or off in the distance to you, does it feel like, oh, I can't do that, I don't, that's only some people do that? Or does it feel like something that it seems right, it feels to you like, that seems like something that I could do? So I'd love to hear. And once again, please go get that free meditation, because it will help you to be able to do that. And it's very relaxing too. It has isochronic tones and white noise, which is just great for relaxation regardless. Yes, she's keeping an eye on me. She's, even these like toughies like Gia, because she tends to be, this is lovely. My light is not supposed to be showing in my camera. I had some lighting issues tonight, so I had to put some last minute lighting in. One of my lights broke, so it's kind of messy, and that's really messy. But okay, so you're saying I'm not 100% confident, but I definitely get messages and signs. Okay, so you feel like you're picking up on it, but you don't necessarily feel like, a lot of people say, well, I'm not sure that they're understanding me. That's what I often hear. They feel like maybe the animal's getting like maybe they're getting messages from an animal, but they don't always feel like they're able to consciously like convey something to an animal. And I'm wondering if that's what you're talking about too, if that could be part of it. But you get messages and signs. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Yep. Yeah, a lot of times maybe you're I wonder if you're referring to like signs, and do you mean messages like you'll feel you got something telepathically from them, and then also maybe messages meaning like, or signs meaning like you conveyed something and then they do something that reinforces that you had asked them to do that, or that you sent them some information to do something or change something. I'm always interested to hear where people are at with this. Because, I'm very confident that people can do this, and I always feel like I can help people and bring it out in them. So I don't ever want to be insensitive when people sometimes feel like they can't do it, or they're having an issue with it, and they're like, well, Anne, you're telling me that I can do this, but I don't feel I can, so I don't want to be insensitive to that. But I do really believe that if you take the time to practice it, it's just like anything else, and that if you have the tools, that you can do it. I strongly believe that. And that's after, teaching for like 20 years, that I'm not just saying that for no reason. The older I have become, the more I sense the need to step back before I react. Yeah, me too. Yep, I hear you. Yeah, even to anything, right? Not just animals. I think that's a lesson that we learn. I think maybe it gets easier too, the older we get. There she is. She's staring at us. Gia. I think I got her attention with the lights, moving the lights, so. Hi. So I would love to hear from people, whether it's in the comments or what have you. And I don't see anybody asking me to talk with any of their pets tonight. I'm not seeing that in the chat. I hope I didn't miss that. I don't see it though, but I don't want to blow over it if somebody was there, and I don't see it there. Okay. All right. Well, and were there any questions anybody had before we get going? Okay, well, I also encourage people, if there are topics that you'd like me to cover, please feel free to let me know. Drop something in the comments. I was looking for, I have a guest coming up in a couple weeks, but next week I don't plan on having a guest, so I feel confident in the animal's abilities to communicate, but I need to improve my skills to hear them. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that just has to do with, like we're talking about, like slowing down and taking the time to hear them. And not saying that you're not, but it just comes with time to identifying that, what it's like when you hear them too. That's a big part of it. And I definitely encourage making sure to write down your communications. Just write down everything you get and keep a record, because sometimes what happens is you think that you haven't gotten through that, that didn't work or whatever. And then you look back in your little notebook like a year later and you realize, oh my gosh, they're doing this now, and now I'm remembering that we had this conversation about this, and that was the catalyst. That's what changed it, but you just forget about it sometimes unless you write it down. So I really do encourage people to keep track of it. So you're saying the same thing, Melmac, is shooting in. I feel confident in the animal's abilities to communicate, but I need to improve my skills to hear them. Yeah, I totally think that is, it's in everybody. It just really is, it is the practice, and it is also, it really does help to make sure that you're practicing with other people's pets, people who are open to this, not people who are going to sit there and critique every little thing you're saying. And sometimes people don't even realize they're doing that. Like, they don't even mean to, but they're looking for this sometimes to be kind of what it isn't at times. And, maybe if you ask them you're practicing and you say, I'm trying to get some practice, they don't mean to, but they're being overly on things, like overly critical. And, I'm just saying that as, not everyone's like that, but I'm just saying to be mindful of who you practice with, because you want people who are open and will be open to saying, let me think for a second. Is that my animal? For instance, maybe you're talking to somebody and you're talking to them about their pet's favorite place to relax, like somewhere they like to just chill out. And you talk about, I'm seeing the color red, and I'm seeing this really fluffy thing, and it's red, and it feels really comfortable. And they're willing to say to themselves, I can't think of anything right now. That doesn't sound like anything in my apartment or my home. And they take a second and then they think about it, or a week later they reach out to you and say, oh my gosh, I remember the last place I lived, we had this, red, comfortable pet bed, and when we moved, we packed it and forgot about it, and it ended up in storage, and I completely forgot about it. And now you're saying it, and I took a second, and now I remember. Let me go get that out because the animal brought it up and they said they really liked it. So that can happen, and it often does happen, that people don't always remember everything totally accurately. So work with people, practice with people who are open to these things and will be positive. And don't feel like you have to get every single thing right either when you're practicing, because it's practice and it's okay to make mistakes. Okay, so that's just my 2 cents, and I hope that keeping in mind RRC will be helpful for you. And I don't see any other questions or comments, but I really appreciate everybody being here, and I look forward to seeing everybody now that we're in the new year. And please reach out if you have any questions. All right, everybody, take care and have a great